Hey, this is Mikey from Malignus Youth. I wanted to show you my screen to show you something cool and interesting. So I used Manus, which is an AI which does research. And I asked it to research Malignus Youth. And my God, um, it came up with all these references you can see on the bottom. Right here. See all these? These are the references that it found on the internet. And it generated a comprehensive report. And I wanted to read it to you. Malignus Youth, a comprehensive report. Malignus Youth was a highly influential hardcore punk band from Sierra Vista, Arizona, active primarily from 1987 to 1994, and again from 1999 to 2001, with sporadic reunion shows continuing into the 2020s. The band is celebrated for their unique and complex musical style, which blended the speed and aggression of hardcore punk with melodic vocals, intricate arrangements, and classical music influences. This report details the history, musical style, discography, and legacy of this seminal Arizona band. Here's a table. How nice of them to put this in a table that lists all of us. History, formation, and the Southern Arizona punk scene, 1987 to 1990. Malignus Youth formed in Sierra Vista, Arizona in 1987, emerging from the burgeoning punk scene in Cochise County. According to drummer Mike Armenta, the punk scene in Sierra Vista was nearly non-existent before 1987, with the local music landscape dominated by bar bands. This may be, just to let you know, this report may have some mistakes in it. The arrival of Dover Trench, a technically accomplished punk band from Buena High School, was the catalyst that inspired a generation of young musicians, including the future members of Malignus Youth. The band's lineup consisted of James Martin, guitar vocals, Octavio Alaje, vocals, Tom Sheldon, bass vocals, and Mike Armenta, drums vocals. In January 1988, they recorded 8 songs live using a 4-track reel-to-reel setup in Martin's parents' bedroom turned studio. These tracks were released as their self-titled debut EP on their own label, You Think Records. As the late 80s progressed, the punk scene in Cochise County grew significantly, with bands such as Dover Trench, Opinion Zero, Blood Spasm, Civil Order, and E-Gads. I have no idea what that is. Somebody could help me there. All contributing to a vibrant local circuit. Should have put Headspace in there and Death Trip and such. Malignus Youth quickly built a reputation through relentless live performances, and in 1989 they were booked on the same bill as Bad Religion. According to Armenta, after that show, Bad Religion actually offered to record Malignus Youth for Epitaph Records, an offer the band ultimately declined because they did not want to compromise their musical independence. Now that is true. They also opened for Citizen Fish, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, and The Misfits during this period. Crisis EP and Musical Evolution, 1990 to 1991. In 1990, Malignus Youth released their second EP, Crisis, as a limited pressing of 1,000 copies, 500 on red vinyl and 500 on white vinyl. The record marked a significant departure from conventional punk rock, with the band adopting composition techniques associated with classical music. Lyrically, Crisis explored themes of conflict, personal loss, fear of growing up, hopelessness, and suicide. Sounds fun. The following year, in 1991, we also did children's parties and stuff like that. The following year, in 1991, the band released their debut full-length LP, More to It, on blue vinyl in a pressing of 1,200 copies. This album is widely regarded as the pinnacle of Malignus Youth's musical development. Conceived as a concept album that resolves the emotional and thematic tensions introduced on Crisis, More to It was partially inspired by the writings of philosopher Immanuel Kant. Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of true, right? It is kind of true. The record, it says on the back of the album, right? The record featured artistic experiments in different musical styles, including slight canonic variation, and demonstrated a familiarity with music theory that was largely uncharacteristic of the hardcore punk genre at the time. Touring and national recognition, 1992 to 1993. Over the next several years, Malignus Youth toured extensively across the western United States, playing at notable venues and alongside prominent artists. They performed at 94 Gilman Street in Northern California with Green Day. I think we played before the night before. I'm not sure. I don't think we played that night with Green Day. I think we showed up when they showed up, and we played the next night, but we lived at the fucking Gilman Street for a week. In Salt Lake City with the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Now that is true. That was fucking awesome. And in Fort Collins, Colorado with The Offspring. Those guys smoked all our fucking weed, you guys. They also shared bills with Fear, Citizen Fish, DRI, and the Misfits. These tours earned the band a growing national reputation and devoted following that extended well beyond Arizona. Between tours in 1993, Malignus Youth recorded Missa Brevis, a 5-part setting of the Roman Catholic Mass, using Greek and Latin text alongside additional English lyrics. This work was an homage to the Western classical tradition of composing music for liturgical texts, following in the footsteps of composers such as Mozart, Beethoven, and Bach. Now, this is true. The Missa Brevis was released alongside a collection of unreleased tracks under the combined title Ephemeral. The release generated some controversy within the punk scene, with some listeners mistakenly labeling the band as Christian punk, a characterization the band members consistently rejected, emphasizing that the work was motivated by musical theory and tradition rather than religious conviction. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not really sure that's true, but it was motivated by musical theory and tradition. But we also had believers in the band and stuff, so that's fine. It doesn't the Christian punk thing doesn't bug me. Who cares? Breakup and hiatus, 1994-1998. Following the 1994 tour, the members of Malignus Youth separated to pursue academic and musical goals elsewhere, with the band unofficially disbanding. James Martin moved to Washington, D.C. and later attended Texas A&M University, while Mike Armenta enrolled in Northern Arizona University. Despite their absence, the band's music continued to circulate through tape trading networks and word of mouth, solidifying their cult status. As the original vinyl pressings became increasingly rare, demand for the band's music on CD prompted a 1998 re-release. In 1999, New Think Records released Vinyl CD, a single CD compiling the self-titled EP, the Crisis EP, and the More To It LP. Reunion and later activity, 1999 to present. Malignus Youth reunited in 1999 and remained active until 2001, playing sporadic shows. In the summer of 2014, after a 14-year break from live performance, the band reunited for a sold-out fundraising show at the Rialto Theater in Tucson, Arizona. Concert footage from this event was recorded for a Kickstarter-funded documentary, Family, the Story of Malignus Youth, directed by Rick Clue. The full concert video was subsequently released on YouTube in July 2019 under the title Malignus Youth, The Genius and the Strange. The actual title of the concert video that this is talking about is actually just called Malignus Youth, Live at the Rialto, a benefit for solar culture. The Genius and the Strange was a separate version of the concert that was filmed by different people, people that were not on the crew of the official video, the official film. Now, the official film was called Malignus Youth, Rialto. And that's the film that's directed by Rick Clue and James Martin. So all three of these you can see on the YouTube Malignus Youth channel. Okay, anyway. The band continued to play occasional reunion shows, including a set at Southwest Terror Fest in 2016 and shows in Phoenix and Bisbee in January 2018. In March 2020, they released Live at the Rialto, a 40-track double LP documenting the 2014 reunion concert, limited to 500 copies on red, black, and yellow splatter vinyl. Around the same time, the band was reportedly recording an album of new material with producer Ryan Butler of Landmine Marathon. Musical style. Oh boy. Malignus Youth was known for a musical style that was both innovative and highly technical, setting them apart from many of their contemporaries in the hardcore punk scene. Early songs followed classic hardcore patterns. Fast 4/4 time, a brief slow introduction, then a quick verse-chorus style with socially relevant lyrics. Over time, however, the band pushed into far more demanding territory. Song tempos increased sharply, with tracks sometimes reaching 340 to 380 beats per minute. That's probably not accurate. It's half that at the least. Jesus. Rather than the harsh shouted vocals typical of the genre, Octavio Alaje and James Martin developed a distinctive approach in which two vocalists would sing long melodic lines and then overlap, creating a form of counterpoint rooted in classical technique. This evolved into full three-part harmonies, a feature that became the most immediately recognizable hallmark of the band's sound. One critic described the overall effect as barbershop quartet meets warp speed punk, quote unquote. And that is from SoundClick. Interesting. The guitar work was equally unconventional. Guitar solos were extremely rare, appearing in only 3 songs across the band's entire 60-song catalog. I wonder if that's true. And instead, the single guitar served primarily as accompaniment to Tom Sheldon's fluid melodic bass lines, which were played in registers unusually high for hardcore punk. This is true. 4-part polyrhythms consisting of guitar, vocal, and drum lines served to counterpoint Sheldon's bass, creating a dense and layered sonic texture. Complicated minor and modal chord progressions, along with repeating authentic cadences, gave the music an intuitive quality of tension and release. The band's interest in classical music deepened significantly after Martin and Armenta joined the Cochise Community College Choir, where they were exposed to the works of Handel, Schubert, Bach, and Haydn, and studied under a director who had been a member of the world-famous Roger Wagner Chorale. This is true. David Meeker and his wife Brenda Cole. Brenda Cole, her niece is Paula Cole, the one who sang that theme song for Dawson's Creek. Remember that one? I don't want to wait. Brenda Cole also was the assistant of the great American composer Randall Thompson, who did A Testament of Freedom and Frostiana, like famous choral pieces. Anyway, this immersion in music theory directly informed the composition of Missa Brevis and the increasingly sophisticated arrangements on More to It. Lyrically, the band's songs explored a range of personal and social themes, including conflict, loss, the fear of growing up, and the search for meaning, often with a philosophical depth unusual for the genre. Malignus Youth released all their recordings on their own label, Youth Inc. Records, later stylized as Youth Inc. INK Records. Their vinyl output was limited in quantity and has since become highly sought after by collectors. And you can see how rare they are here. They did a really good job doing this. The band also appeared on the 1993 compilation Yeah, But It's a Dry Heat, Westworld Records, contributing the tracks IU2Y and Shadows. Legacy and influence. Malignus Youth left a lasting impact on the Arizona music scene and the wider punk rock community by blending hardcore punk with classical music theory and melodic vocals. They expanded the sonic possibilities of the genre and demonstrated that technical sophistication and raw punk energy were not mutually exclusive. The DIY ethic, self-releasing all of their music on their own label, and consistently refusing major label offers, further cemented their credibility within the underground punk community. The band was also instrumental in fostering a tight-knit punk rock community in southern Arizona. The Kickstarter campaign for their documentary described the band's music as the tying bind for many who had little or nothing but each other, and characterized Malignus Youth as a band that influenced a slew of other bands and brought the Arizona music scene together. Those must be quotes by Rick Clue. Their enduring appeal is evidenced by the continuing demand for their recordings and the sold-out nature of their reunion shows. Contemporary musicians have cited more to it as a formative influence. Jay Holmes of the band Fever Moon, for example, described first hearing Malignus Youth through the old tape trading network and being immediately captivated by their blazing fast, speeding tempos, yet insanely melodic and ultra-catchy sound. The band's music has been described as sounding like the Minutemen had fused with the Descendants, a combination of intellectual rigor and infectious pop sensibility that continues to resonate with listeners decades after its creation. Crazy. Despite the geographical and professional distances that have kept the members apart over the years, Malignus Youth has remained a vital and beloved presence in the Arizona punk scene, a testament to the enduring power of their music and the community they helped to build. Very cool. Now, I showed you that to show you this. Now, after it delivered this final report, I asked it to create a presentation about Malignus Youth's unique musical style. And it generated a full report. Not only did it do that, it generated a fucking slideshow. Check this shit out. Malignus Youth, a unique hardcore punk sound, blending aggression with artistry. Now, this must be purely generated, like generative, so let's find out what it said. The Arizona Sound, 1987 to 1994. Sierra Vista, Arizona. Malignus Youth, hailing from Sierra Vista, Arizona, carved a distinctive niche in the hardcore punk landscape. Active primarily from 1997 to 1994, and during reunion periods, they defied genre conventions by infusing their aggressive sound with unexpected musical sophistication. This presentation explores the core elements that defined their unique artistic vision, moving beyond raw energy to embrace a higher level of musicality and intellectual depth. Sorry about that. Beyond hardcore, evolution of sound. While rooted in hardcore punk's speed and energy, Malignus Youth moved beyond raw aggression to embrace more intricate musical ideas and structure. Their approach showed punk could be both fierce and intellectually engaging, setting them apart and helping define a sophisticated punk sound. Technical velocity. Tempo range 340 to 380. That's probably not correct. It's probably half that. Malignus Youth's music was I need somebody to figure that out, though. Like, the Middle Eastern tune. How fast is that at its fastest? What's the beat per minute on that? Somebody figure it out, please. That would really help me. Malignus Youth's music was characterized by highly complex and unconventional song structures, often featuring frequent and dramatic tempo changes that defied standard punk simplicity. Unlike many punk bands, guitar solos were rare. Instead, the single guitar often complemented fluid melodic bass lines played in unusually high registers. This inversion of roles created a dense technical soundscape. Songs reached blistering speeds while maintaining absolute precision, blending the raw energy of hardcore with the calculated rigor of advanced musical composition. Vocal innovation. Quote, barbershop quartet meets warp speed punk, end quote. Melodic counterpoint. A defining character... I really like that quote, by the way. It's fucking awesome. A defining characteristic of Malignus Youth was their innovative vocal approach. Rather than relying solely on a shouted or screamed vocals common in hardcore, Octavio Alaje and James Martin developed a style featuring melodic singing, three-part harmonies. They utilized intricate three-part harmonies and counterpoint techniques where vocal lines overlapped. This created a rich, layered sound that was rooted in classical music theory, setting a new standard for vocal complexity in the punk genre. Classical theory. Missa Brevis, 1993. Malignus Youth drew significant inspiration from classical music theory, most notably in their 1993 project, a five-part punk rock mass set to Greek and Latin liturgical texts. This audacious work served as an homage to Western classical tradition, showcasing a deep understanding of composition that transcended the typical boundaries of the genre. The band incorporated complex elements such as modal chord progressions and canonic variations. This was not merely aesthetic, but rooted in formal training. This is true. There's canonic variation in Agnus Dei. There can't miss it. Key members, Martin and Armenta, deepened their musical knowledge through formal choir training, directly informing the sophisticated arrangements found throughout their discography. Philosophical depth. Kantian influence. The band's landmark album, More to It, was partially inspired by the writings of Immanuel Kant. They explored the resolution of emotional and thematic tensions through a philosophical lens, a rarity in the hardcore theme. Social themes. Lyrically, the band delved into complex issues of conflict, personal loss, and the search for meaning. Their words often reflected a deep sense of introspection and existential inquiry. Malignus Youth proved that the raw energy of punk could serve as a vehicle for profound intellectual exploration, challenging the listener to look beyond the surface of the music. The band's artistic integrity. Independent. Youth Inc. Records. The band fiercely maintained its artistic independence, self-releasing all their material on their own Youth Inc. Records label. This allowed them to retain complete creative control over their music and message. They famously declined an offer from Epitaph Records to avoid compromising their sound and DIY ethos. This is true. Also, the members of All wanted to record us too. In fact, the drummer, frickin' Bill Stevenson, chased after our van as we were driving off, because I had talked to Mr. Edgerton earlier, but I didn't know who he was, and I was just like, I kind of forgot. And then I didn't tell anyone, and as we were driving off, Bill Stevenson runs after us, giving, we want to record you, and gave us contact info, and we ghosted them for the same reason. We talked about this a lot, trust me. It wasn't taken lightly. This commitment to their vision ensured that their music remained authentic and uncompromised by commercial interests. This is fucking true. Their legacy is defined as much by their uncompromising independence as it is by their musical innovation. Their legacy is defined as much by their uncompromising independence as it is by their musical innovation. Interesting. Enduring legacy. Malignus Youth's unique sound and uncompromising approach left an indelible mark on the Arizona punk scene and beyond. They are celebrated for expanding the boundaries of hardcore punk, proving that aggression and artistic sophistication could coexist. Their influence is still felt today, with their music continuing to inspire new generations of musicians. Their DIY ethic and commitment to artistic integrity remain a benchmark for independent artists in the underground community. Consistently sold-out reunion shows and the enduring demand for their rare vinyl releases testify to their status as true legends of the genre. Pioneers of sophisticated punk. Malignus Youth stands as a testament to the power of creative innovation. Their blend of raw punk energy, intricate musicality, classical influences, and intellectual lyrical content forged a sound that remains distinctive and highly influential. Here's all the references. Crazy.